Man, you know the crash out epidemic is very real when it's not just rappers spinning on people, bro. Apparently in this day and age, we now got TikTokers catching bodies and going on the run before GTA, man. It's honestly insane.
Investigators say they believe he was killed Saturday evening and his body was dumped on the roadway overnight. Now, investigators say they're looking for this man.
In the wildest development we've heard this year, semi-famous TikToker Mr Prada is currently on the run after allegedly murking his therapist. That's what people believe after the Baton Rouge police issued a statement and showed surveillance footage of a suspect leaving the scene showing what looked like him, and he was known to live in that area, so people definitely jumped to conclusions and said that it is him currently on the run. Well, that already sounds as dark as it can get. This story actually takes an even eerier turn when you go back through the therapist and his own dark allegations that have surfaced from his past. Today, we got to get into Mr Prada, TikToker turned murder suspect right now, man. But before we do, I need you to run something for me, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 100K subs. Make sure you check that merch link in the description at staysafeworld.com, and make sure you hit up that notification bell so whenever I post, y'all are tuned in right away. Stay safe, gang, man. Let's get into this right now with chapter 1. So if you aren't really familiar with Mr Prada, he's a big TikToker that started blowing up like 2 years ago, making relatable content and, you know, sort of kind of stealing other people's ideas from TikTok and putting his own spin on it. You know, people have basically accused him of copying other people time and time again, honestly, and it honestly is true. But so does kind of everyone on TikTok. Throughout all his TikTok, it kind of seemed like something was kind of off with dude mentally, just a little bit. Bro was looking kind of crazy at times.
Do anything drastic unless you want to look like this. Every time I leave the house, these in my face. Giving an update on my life becoming a nightmare.
Fast forward though, this past week, past his peak, and people were essentially calling him washed up, and he started to change his appearance a lot, which raised a lot of red flags amongst his users. And with his mental problems, it would be no doubt that he would have a therapist on call to go through, you know, everything that was wrong with him in his life up to this point. It definitely affected him. But little did we know, a therapist in this area with a dark past could possibly have crossed paths with him, which we'll get into in chapter 2. So in 2015, a local Baton Rouge therapist would get exposed for sexually assaulting his patient that happened to be a minor. That's like one of the craziest crimes you could ever get accused of if you think about it, because you're the person that's supposed to be there and they're most vulnerable and you're taking advantage of them. That is crazy.
Baton Rouge therapist is under investigation after a woman reported that he allegedly touched her grandson inappropriately. She says it happened back in February. According to police reports, the boy was so upset after the session, he said he never wanted to see the therapist, 60-year-old William Abraham, again. Authorities say the boy allegedly told his new therapist about the accusations. Abraham was arrested and charged with molestation of a juvenile. His bond is set at $25,000.
On March 4th, 2015, East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office reported William Abraham, at that time 60 years old, of Baton Rouge, was booked on a charge of molestation of a juvenile. He was released from jail, posting $25,000 bond. According to probable cause report, EBRSO detectives were contacted by a woman on February 16th who reportedly said her 11-year-old grandson had been touched on his privates by his therapist. The alleged incident happened on February 3rd. The report states the woman said the boy was visibly upset when he got back in the car and told her he did not want to see the man again. The grandmother got him a new therapist 3 days later. According to the report, it was during the first session with the new therapist that the boy first said the other therapist had touched him. What gets really crazy is fans have basically looked back at the age of Mr Prada and the age the kid was who got molested, came to the conclusion he would have been around 11 years old at the time that this incident had gone down. However, fast forward 9 years later, and this leads us to the crazy events that went down this week that changed everyone's lives involved for the worse. On Monday afternoon, the Sherwood Forest Boulevard area of East Baton Rouge Parish seemed like a normal day with weekday traffic and people coming home from work. But passerbyers reported a crazy scene of a man driving off from a police stop erratically and crashing into a business complex at around 4 p.m. The man would then be seen running away. When police got to the car, they ran the place and discovered it was none other than a stolen car that was identified to William Nicholas Abram, the mental therapist who was well known throughout the area. But the craziest part about this this is what police in a small town close to Baton Rouge would discover just 24 hours previously.
The weekend, deputies say Abraham's body was found wrapped in a tarp and dumped in a Tangipahoa Parish ditch. According to the coroner, he was killed by blunt force trauma to the head and neck.
On Sunday morning, Tangipahoa Parish Police would receive a call that a body had been discovered on the side of Highway 51, wrapped in a tarp. Upon first glance, they were able to tell that the body looked like it was killed through blunt force trauma, with repeated strikes to the head and upper body. It also appeared that the body had been dumped overnight on Saturday at some point, and it took almost half a day for anyone to find it.
A large tarp that was rolled up on the side of the road. The responding deputy, upon arrival, discovered that there was a deceased white male inside of that tarp. As a result, our detectives were called out, as well as the coroner's office from Tangipahoa Parish. Also, the Louisiana State Police Crime Lab was called out. That scene was obviously cordoned off. It was processed as a homicide.
It was so gruesome that police would automatically send out a notification asking anyone if they knew anything about this or had any info. Just 48 hours later though, they would get a call from the East Baton Rouge Police Department and would receive notice that the stolen car that we talked about had been discovered, and would put two and two together. At some point, police would stop the car in Baton Rouge, but the car would do the dash and crash. The suspect would get away, but surveillance footage would show what looked like Mr. Prada stumbling away from the crime scene. Honestly, bro, this is definitely not a good scenario. Like, it is possible that bro could beat this, but at this type of rate, it seems like there's something definitely off. And I wouldn't be surprised if this man had something to do with it. Obviously, he was a sick man. Obviously, he did things in the past that probably messed this kid up. But at the same time, dude is running completely erratic. This doesn't seem like the type of like killing that you see someone that planned this out in detail would do. Because why would you kill someone and then be driving around with their car and leave their body just on the side of the road? You know, whoever did that, obviously, not saying it was not justified if the dude is a straight, you know, pedo going around touching people and messing people up in the head, but bro was definitely not in the right mental space to be doing this type of stuff. If you're just driving around in a car, like, that definitely seems like the type of mentality of someone who has bipolar disorder, or just not trying to speculate on what he had, but like, it's just kind of crazy, you know? Like, obviously it's not crazy if he was like molested as a kid and didn't have any other outlets and basically got his whole mental fried, but you know, someone who was really trying to just do a drill would not be doing that type of stuff. Like, why would you be driving with this car like almost 48 hours after dumping his body? You know, if you were really trying to get away with it, you would burn the car up somewhere in the forest or something like that. There's mad wooded areas over there. There's no reason to be driving around in the car days later. I understand right then and there, but bro was driving around days later. Like, bro, you're cooked at this point. There's no way you're gonna beat this. I'm sorry, bro. And it's like, honestly, mentally, he's probably not there. And it's kind of sad. It shows like how the fame and everything can come from these people that are just like going through it. But then when you see the downsides of what happens and everything that affects their mental, they just crash out, man. And it's honestly sad. I feel like the crazy thing is about the news report though, is how come they didn't mention anything about his whole allegations and getting arrested for molestation? You know, they were just like, this guy, the therapist, he was a great guy. He was a good man. He was a gentleman. But at the end of the day, if he really did those dark things that mess up this patient, I wouldn't be surprised that there's others. And I wouldn't be surprised at the actions that he did, you know? He was probably not mentally right. When you fry someone's mental by touching them at such a young age, is crazy, man. But, you know, if this is him, it hasn't really been issued out his name or anything like that, but it looks exactly like him, you know? It's like that little Boom situation where they didn't really issue out the dude's name, but looked exactly like him. But this, I mean, bro's pretty unmistakably in that picture, man. And honestly, I just hope that that's not the case. But if he was caught driving around in the dude's car, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, man. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think about this situation. Real Stay Safe shit. You already know what's going on. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join the Stay Safe World game, man. Peace.